When I applied to join the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 1994 as an assistant curator of textiles, the culmination of the interview process was a meeting with Philippe de Montebello, then the director, in his office overlooking Fifth Avenue. I don't remember much about the exchange, except for one moment. After a fairly straightforward conversation about my background, experience, and current research, Philippe asked me what I would most like to do if I came to the Metropolitan. In reply, I told him I wanted to organize an exhibition of Renaissance tapestries. My goal was to demonstrate that the tapestry medium reached its apogee during the 16th century and did not go into immediate decline at the end of the medieval era, the misleading paradigm that had influenced so much of 20th century art history. I wasn't giving this answer to please the hearer. It was, quite genuinely, the thought of organizing large exhibitions that had attracted me to a career at the Metropolitan above all others. I had spent several months at the Metropolitan as a researcher in the early 1990s and had come to realize that its exhibition program surpassed anything that I had encountered in European museums, partly in terms of the number of exhibitions mounted each year, partly the size of the galleries in which those exhibitions were presented, partly the level of funding available to support those exhibitions, partly the scholarship that the shows embodied, and equally importantly, the sophisticated audiences that flocked to every exhibition and were so engaged by them. As I have subsequently learned, so in the course of my lecture this evening, I want to talk about the development of this program over the years, the way in which it has helped the museum grow its collections, the way it has helped grow the perception of the museum, and literally to form the psyche of the museum. The Metropolitan Museum was incorporated in 1870 with a stated mission to encourage and develop the study of the fine arts, to encourage the application of the arts to manufacture and practical life, and to furnish popular instruction. Here, we see a slide of the first building in Central Park, dating from about 1880. During its formative years, many of its early special exhibitions were assemblages of loaned objects from the private collections of museum trustees. The most influential collector involved with the Metropolitan during these early years was the New York financier and museum president, John Pierpont Morgan. The museum's founding charter enshrined education for the masses at the core of its activities. But during the first decades of its existence, it was, in many respects, a rather elite club for its membership. Things were changing, however. The educational mission was a convenient way of leveraging funding from the city, which, according to the terms of the founding charter, was responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the buildings. This educational mission took on a fresh meaning during the First World War, when the disarray of European industry presented American manufacturers with opportunities to expand production. The museum began concentrated efforts to mount exhibitions aimed at influencing contemporary industrial design. These didactic exhibitions, here's another slide of that fashion show. These didactic exhibitions coexisted with a continuing succession of small shows featuring different aspects of the museum's collections, everything from Japanese arms and armor to European lace, and occasional exhibits of Old Master and American painters. One aspect that is notably lacking during these years, though, is any treatment of modern art. The situation began to change at the Met in 1940 with the appointment as director of Francis Henry Taylor, an innovator with a touch of the showman about him. The first major exhibit of modern American art was precipitated by the Second World War, when many of the museum's treasures were removed to a heavily guarded estate near Philadelphia for safekeeping. I should say, the definition of modern art remained very behind the times. Encouraged by the response to the exhibition, which we see another slide here, the trustees purchased 2 Van Goghs, cypresses and sunflowers, and they even agreed to hold a Van Gogh exhibition. While this was hardly showcasing the true avant-garde of the day, it was as far as the museum was yet prepared to tread. If the Met was slow to engage with modern art, it embraced another European innovation more readily. During the 1930s, a number of large international art loan exhibitions had been held in Paris and London, and it was again the Second World War that precipitated American museums into similar international collaborations. The first of these shows actually took place at the National Gallery in Washington, when several hundred old master paintings from the Berlin museums, recovered by American forces in 1945 from the Nazis, were sent for safekeeping to the United States. The decision to bring the paintings here was somewhat controversial. Critics feared that the Allies were themselves attempting to profit from the war by removing booty from Europe to America. But the Washington show eventually took place and was enormously successful, being visited by nearly 1 million people in its run. Subsequently, a smaller version of the show opened at the Met in 1948 and then circulated through the United States before the paintings were returned to their true homes.